We'll start by talking about the new article we've written. And I was on the phone this morning to Roz, and we're both actually quite chuffed about this article and one that follows, simply because both the artefacts were found in Australia. Now, with the rings, we've been chased up by quite a few people, and they've complained about the fact we're focusing on artefacts that were found outside Australia. It looks like it was outside our brief. But remember, this began with an Atlantean ring, which has been quite an issue, I can assure you, and that was found at Hill End in Australia. So we knew there was an Australian connection to this, but as we chased this up, and yeah, we did go overseas, but we always knew that there was a reason why this was happening. Well, now it's become apparent. 2 more artefacts have been found, both in Australia. And this is where it gets interesting. The one I've written about now was found by somebody whose name, it's not his right name. I'm going to call him Bruce, but that's not his name anyway. He doesn't want his name out for now at the moment, but the story's true. I met him, and he found this 60 years ago. He'd found this object, a metal object, when he was playing in a park with some other kids, and they were building it. And there were stacks of dirt, which means they come not from far away. And he saw this metal shining thing inside one of the pyramids of dirt, and went across and picked it up. And lo and behold, there was dirt on top, and there was something inside there, but he couldn't get in. The dirt was so encased and so hard and so crushed and so pressurized, it took him an hour. And he used a steel pick and steel wool to get it off, until when he finally got it off, you'll see what's there. It's a statuette, a 9-inch statuette. Now, he had it for 60 years, and he calls it his little man. He's got 2 young girls. Well, they're not young anymore. They're his daughters. And his 3rd child was this little 9-inch statue that looks golden. Anyway, he contacted us, and by the way, he's prepared to put a stat deck up, and the story is legit. And it's legit because of one particular reason. You can say, oh, no, he made it up. But the point is, we did a chemical analysis of this particular object when he contacted us, because he suspected maybe it had a link with the rings. And of course, I'm going to hold this ring up now, this particular ring, and I'm holding this up for a reason, because I want you to look at the colour on this ring. Because when I looked at this statuette of this little man with a little something with bulging eyes and oversized arms and small legs, and if it's a caricature, it could be a person. I'm not really sure what it is. I won't talk so much about that today, and we've got ideas and we've written them up. But more importantly, what we found was that that particular object had exactly the same chemical makeup as the ring I just showed you, and that's why they look so similar. In fact, for all intents and purposes, give or two one percentage points on different points, they'd be the same. Now, it's got the orichalcum, as Atlantis ring 1's got, and it's got the base, it's got the hint of tin alongside, like all of the ones that come from Angkor Wat - Lemuria come from. But there's one major difference this time. It was found inside a combination of clay and sandstone in the Greater Sydney Basin, which is placed on 33 degrees. And can I remind you, Hill End, where Atlantis number 1 was found, is placed on 33 degrees. Now, you might think that's a coincidence, but I'm not so sure about that. And there's a reason why Atlantis 1 will be placed in Hill End, which is the only place in Australia that has a gold mine on 33 degrees, because remember, orichalcum temples always had a cap of gold on top, so it should be stored there. But this is not orichalcum from Atlantis, because it has the tin signature, like the ring I just showed you. And they all come from Angkor Wat. Well, no, they don't. They come from Angkor Wat in the Greater Sydney Basin area, because that's where the other one was found. Now, the fact that it looks like it comes from Angkor Wat, and it has the same materials as the other one as Angkor Wat, is very important. Because we can argue about Lemuria, and we can argue about whether it exists, but we can't argue about a piece of metal found in Sydney. near Sydney, around Sydney. You can't argue about that because that's a different story, because until Cook, this was stick, stone and bone territory only. And remember, when Bruce took this thing out, it took an hour to get the grains of dirt off individually one by one, so it wasn't laying near the surface, it was deep down below, which seems to be a trait that we see in both these two places in Australia. And ladies and gentlemen, if I left it at that, that would be odd. It would be unusual. And you think, there could be something there. But we need to tell you about the other artefact found in Australia. And that one we very interested in, even more so than the amazing statuette. And the reason being is it has motifs on them. And some are repeated, and they're exactly the same as the one on the first ring. There is the circle with a line above and below like that, vertical and horizontal, line above and below, vertical and horizontal, just like on ring 1. Then there's that clover leaf design that represented Atlas. It's exactly the same on this ring. And it was found in Australia. And do you know what makes it more interesting? It wasn't found by the gentleman who found the first one. It's found by another person, whose name I won't give right now. I'm in contact with him at the moment, and we're about to get it analysed. It hasn't been analysed yet, but let me tell you something. Because it was found at Hill End, where the first Atlantean ring was found, and because it has the same colour and lustre as the first ring, and because it has the same two symbols, then another one, I'm inclined to think, yeah, we'll get the analysis done very quickly, but I'm pretty sure I know we're going to have pure orichalcum again, because I think this is another one. And this raises a question. And with this particular one, let me explain how the gentleman who found this one, where it was, in general terms. It was found near a hole that was dug out by National Parks and Wildlife, and they had dug down 4 metres, and it was on the top. I want you to think about that. The other ring was 1.5 metres beneath the surface on the side of a hill. If it was there naturally, that's about 50,000 years. If it was buried, then that's different. We can't really date it that way. This one's even deeper. And what makes this one more interesting is the first Atlantean ring is, although the diameters of the circles change, the rest of it is perfect geometry, insofar as each caption, which has the symbol inside, is 4 mil by 4 mil. Then there's a gap of 2 mil by 4, then 4 by 4, then 2 by 4, all the way around till it's cut and messed up when the circle's cut in half. But all the way around it was perfect geometry. And it's symmetrical. This one's not symmetrical. It's not even in sequence. I can see one motif for Atlas, then 2 in a row of the rings of Atlantis. Then there's another one I don't understand, and I'm not sure what's on the other side, but what's really interesting is the ring isn't symmetrical. It's not even straight. A whole piece has been cut in. Remember, the other one had a piece cut into it, and a piece was taken away. In this case, it looks like a piece has been cut in, another piece has been put in on top of it and joined up again. It's completely wrong, and it doesn't feel very inviting. But here's the point. You need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, this was also found at Hill End. So if there's 2, are there more? Well, that now means we have 3 rings. Well, we're trying to anyway. We've got 2 at the moment, and we may end up with a 3rd one. And that would mean now that, well, if you went back to Tolkien, we might have a complete set. But I want to make a point. This 3rd ring, I don't think it's a good ring. I might be wrong, and I hope I am. I think it might be the worst of the 3. Remember, the first ring was perfectly made until it was tainted. The second ring is 50-50. I'm inclined to think this ring is 100% the wrong way. And somewhere down the line, maybe, I don't know, we'll see what happens. Maybe I might have to put the damn thing on and find out where it takes me when I get up in the morning. Here's the point, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to make this point. You need to understand now, that's 9 objects we've found, all based around orichalcum. I will guarantee you in a couple of days we'll have 2 that are purely orichalcum. All of the Lemurian ones have orichalcum as a base. And then there's additives, and as you know, there's things like gallium. There's so many IUMs I can't remember them all, and they're all brand new elements we've only just discovered. And one of them's got 41.8% of something we don't even know about because it's not on the table. And now you're starting to see a pattern here, and the pattern here is whatever was going on then is beyond us today. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we do our next online conference, which is on this Sunday, I will obviously be doing an update on that. And that's interesting because there was basically this presentation we're doing coming up on Sunday was meant to sum up. We're getting overviews of all the things we've done, and we always seem to have a prevailing theme. And this time around, because of what's happened with these rings, and because of the fact that Paul, who did a beautiful talk on Genesis and the existence of aliens within it, is now going to do Plato, Atlantis, and Lemuria. And because Leah is going to talk about why Atlantis fell, she's going to talk about 15 minutes of the good side and 15 minutes of the bad side. And we're going to talk about the statue from Atlantis and the new ring from the statue from Lemuria and the new ring from Atlantis. That is our central theme for this one. But the rest of it, Soul Reader is going to go back and look at, well, we're going to look at that alien presence again. Through, not Leah this time is in contact with them, but through Soul Reader. I have no issue with bringing in people who are in direct contact with aliens because I believe it's true. And I know it's true. I know it's true with Leah's case, and I don't doubt for 1 second I've met Soul Readers. No, I have no doubt it's true in her case too. And there are others, but we need to hear from them right now because it's getting closer. The presentation that follows, which I think is on the December the 13th, is Blackfella talking there. It's all original voices. We've picked people from all over Australia. Lionel Launch from down in Mornington. Ulakai Brendan Murray, who was the first original person to share the prophecy with me. That's why I thought he should come on, because he began this story. He's going to talk about that, of course. Auntie Minnie Mace will be talking about the prophecy, as well as a lot of other things. She's going to go further into the Egyptian link, and she was starting that last time. And then our fourth person, yes, local to here, we hope. We have a backup if that doesn't come, but I'm hoping and praying that we're going to get Uncle Lewis Walker from around here to talk about Old Way. He's from way back. His parentage and his lineage and his interest is in all the old culture, the old way of doing things. And I want him just to give a talk about that part of this story. Of course, Lionel will be playing that stunning didge, doing some healing and meditation, and it's outrageously brilliant. Each of these people, Auntie Minnie Mace has been on before. As I said, Brendan's got this story, and I'm also going to have Binna. And Binna is what I call the most original white fella on the planet, and he's going to talk about what's taking place practically in what comes next, in a development where blackfella rules are maintained, black and white fella work together, but there's an underlying original theme to everything they do when they live together. It's a stunning idea and a way of living the future, like Michael Tellinger with Mbuto. So we're going to do that as well in the next one. So please join us for the last two, one which is a sum up, and the one that follows is the original voices themselves talking about this prophecy. And of course we will be talking about the prophecy again and the updates, and I can assure you that things are they're kicking on in all directions, both ways. Everything's splitting apart at the moment everywhere. And my understanding is that prophecy, that ceremony is still going to take place. Don't know much past that point for sure. It's all a mystery to us, but the ceremony will take place. And I want to close with a point I made quite recently in another talk elsewhere. I can't remember where we've done so many. And I raised the point that someone came up to me and said, well, what if it doesn't happen? What if the ceremony doesn't work? And I said, that's possible. I've said that from the start each time. I've always had equivocations. It may not work. And I said this part. I said, so what if it doesn't? What if a couple of million people spend a half hour just pouring out positive energy into this planet? Is that a bad thing right now? And maybe it'll have an effect. If you believe that thoughts have an impact, maybe that would create an effect. And maybe, just maybe, even if the ceremony didn't work, And even if it did, does it really matter? Why couldn't we do this again and again and just keep doing it? And while the world is being covered in fear and panic and distrust, and we can't touch each other, we can't go near one another, we're breaking down what it is to be a human being and why we're here. Piece by piece, we're being dismantled. Well, this is a way to put it back together. And how does it hurt for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of people to sit down for half an hour and just radiate positive energy and pure thoughts? How does that hurt you? And why not do it again? So for me, this is a win-win situation. From the very beginning, we've always presented this prophecy with a question mark and an if and a provider and an equivocation. We may be involved in this, we're told we are, and then again we've been told we're not welcome, so we don't know for sure. We'll go there, we'll take the objects that we think are needed, assist, and if they're not needed to assist, that's fine by us. And if they are, that's fine by us too. The most important thing, it's got nothing to do with us. Us too, it's to do with everyone. If we do this, we can't lose. And if we do it again, we can't lose. Whether the planet breaks into two vibrations, an upper lower vibration, that's what they tell me is going to happen. I believe it will. But I'm just a person and nobody has a mortgage on the truth. But we do have a mortgage on an effort. So let's not try and do it. Let's just do it anyway and see what happens. And in the meantime, join us for the last two of this year. The next one particularly because I want to sum things up, and we've got some new information now. And as somebody said to me when they heard about the evidence we've got now, is how is anyone going to argue against the fact that ancient civilizations, I don't care what their name is, and I don't care either, I'm just giving them names because I think they're the right names, but I've always said that's a maybe. What isn't a maybe is I've got elements here, and I've got objects in front of me that aren't from here. And some of the ones that are from here just got here, we only just found them. And I've got them in objects that are thousands, tens of thousands of years old. So I have metal solid, rock solid, bone solid evidence that breaks the molds. So maybe they're all together for this reason. So come and join us for the next couple of episodes and see where we take us, and then we'll go up to Uluru and see where we get taken. Until next time, thank you for joining us, and enjoy the article.